Good afternoon, Arthur. How you doing?
Good afternoon, Ross. Everything all right, bud? How you doing
Yes,
there?
mate. Yes, everything's good. Everything's good. Here we are now for episode 5 of our podcast.
Yes, it's a bit of a series, this.
It's coming along, isn't it?
I think so, bud.
I know I haven't heard from the Smithsonian yet, but I'm sure they're going to want it.
Well, I did have a call from the History Channel on Sky the other day.
Mm.
But that was because we hadn't paid the fees or something.
Right.
I think it was a bit of a scam, actually. But I think that was that.
Yeah.
So what's the weather like down there with you, bud?
Bit of rain, mate.
Yeah, with the same. It's cleared up a bit here, and I think the next week is going to be lovely, apparently.
Well, heat wave, I've heard.
I think, well.
But no, we're very grey and wet and moody. Very poetic, actually, the weather in Cardiff Bay.
I think so. I find it very with this lockdown. I find it sapped everybody's energy. It does, especially people who've been sort of self-isolating, like me and Carly, like 17 weeks really, and we only just go out now and again. So hopefully now next week we can jump in the car and go for a run somewhere nice and a bit of fresh air.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's a lot of focus in the press about, the children, the kids going back to school. But looking at it, I mean, I really think that the adults having to go back to work after such a break, I mean, a break that they've never had in their professional lives. So, yes, it's going to be a tough one.
I think a lot wouldn't want to go back, like.
No, I think it's going to be hard. People might, I know a couple of my friends have said they've got used to living like students again, staying in bed and having a glass of wine every evening.
And the especially families with younger children who both the parents work, and now the mother, most of the mother, have spent so much time with the children at home, and she's probably thinking, well, I don't really want to go back to work.
No.
I think a lot of them now have realised exactly how much they've missed of their children growing up. I know it's only 3 months, but in that 3 months, so much they develop so quickly. You know what I mean? They go from crawling to talking, like it's unbelievable.
And I think you're right. And I think for most professional families now, this is unheard of. You won't get 3 months with your children again, and not like this.
No.
And you and I have said a number of times on this podcast, the smart people will take the positives from this and appreciate the time they've had and maybe reevaluate a few things.
I think so. And I think a lot of people are going to work from home now, Manuel. I think a lot of companies have actually realised, hang on a minute, if I got 100 staff in the office, do I need 100? Actually in the office, I mean, or can they work from home? Like my niece's husband works for Admiral, David have said, I'm quite happy working from home now.
Yeah.
You mean? So I think that'll come into play as well.
I've worked from home now for probably 5 or more years.
Yeah.
In various roles, but they're normally home based. And you become quite attached to it. In the end, you become attached to your space. I think people that work at home normally are more productive, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've only ever seen it as a good thing, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, if that's caught on, but also sometimes the nature of what we do and how we operate, sometimes it needs something jarring to change these things, though, to get away from the old school concept of, well, you clock in on the factory door at 9 o'clock and you clock out at 5:30. The world has moved so much now.
I think it has, yeah. This has come as a bit of a joke, really, right across the board. Airlines, the services, everything. You know what I mean? The way and the self-employed, obviously. You know what I mean? A lot of them have come unstuck. With the sort of cash in hand part of that. You know what I mean? They've had to put returns in to claim the money and. You know what I mean? I think a lot of them must have thought, well, I just put the claim in and I'll have it. Well, it's not as simple as that with this lot.
No.
They'll go through like a fine-tooth comb. And if you earned like 30,000 last year, 30,000 year before, and you put a claim in for 70,000, they say, hang on a minute, what's happened to you? You're working twice as hard. You won't put twice as hard. So there's a lot of ramifications behind it all. I know for a fact that the building trade, some of the prices now being charged for plaster, sand, cement is exorbitant.
Yeah.
It's like it's gone back to like racketeering in the war.
Well, I mean, that's one of the great things about capitalism is it's
Oh.
supply and demand, isn't it?
Oh, it's entrepreneurship. I got is the word for it, isn't it? But they're robbing bastards basically. But you know what I mean? Modern day entrepreneurs.
He hinted.
But you know, so you mean things like that. You know, I mean they come with it. You know.
Mm.
I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. I think it'll die out. I think the way people are behaving at the minute, they think it's like the flu.
Mm.
Somebody was saying this morning they've been to some Tesco place somewhere and it's just as normal.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully there's not going to be a second wave of this because I think we all need to get on with our lives.
I think so.
But you know, and I've heard that argument that it's just the flu, but when you look at the worldwide numbers, it's not just the flu.
No.
You know, this is.
But when you look then at the number of people who actually died of it, they say over 1,000. Then you put that into perspective over whatever it is, 4 months, the population and how many people have actually had it. It's minimal, and I think that's the way people, certainly America and places like that. I think that's the way they're looking at it because they're such a vast country, aren't they? America, you know, they're ridiculous, you know, and I think that's the way they're so gung ho about things, you know. That, oh yeah, carry on, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's how we view things, you know, and you know, there's not many people I know that have been exposed or have contracted it.
No.
But also with anything like this, I sort of liken it to an iceberg, you know, and 3/4 of the iceberg is under the water. You can't really see it.
That's right.
All you sort of see is the little tip, and and that's what you're focusing on because that's what you think you're seeing. But actually, when you look at it worldwide, it is much more substantial and has a much bigger impact than that.
Yeah. But you know, they're traveling. The planes are starting to fly. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I've never trusted governments, right? Never have, right? You mean, you mean whatever they say, they do the opposite, whatever. And I think when this started, they were late, taking it on board.
Yeah.
And now B, once they took it on board, I think they went the full hog. And you know yourself, once you go the full hog on anything, it's very, very difficult to decrease it quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they've done. I think they've sort of come to a point where, certainly for finances, Boris Johnson and his cabinet would say, right, let's crack on now. It's happening with the schools. The schools going back 1st of September in Wales. There's no social distancing with the kids, 30 in a class. The only people who social distance are the teachers.
Yeah.
Because they're adults. So basically they are saying kids are not going to catch it. That's what they're saying. Otherwise they wouldn't put them in that position, would they?
No.
So there's something going on, you know, I mean, that we don't know about. And all they do is refer it to, I've had my what's it called, my sort of advice from the health people and the scientists. That's their way of saying, do this.
Yeah.
You know, when it goes tits up, then you know, they all run an eye, don't they? You know. But there we are. Anyway, crack on. Crack on, but right. No, we've sorted the world out now, so
world's fixed. let's talk about writing.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about conceptualization.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about where the poetry comes from.
Right.
What is you know, light bulb moments, thought processes, anything that would instigate you or will you to put a pen to paper or a finger to a keyboard. And I think the other side of that we can talk about as well is, well, what is it like for a writer when that isn't happening? When you have that writer's block, as a lot of people call it, and how do you actually deal with that? And I know some people deal with it differently. Some people don't experience it. Some people do. But so I thought, yeah. So the first thing is let's talk about the concept. So what is that moment? What is that trigger moment that makes you go, I want to write about that? And so let's kick off with that. So for you, I know you've written a lot about Wales and the mining industry. You've also written a lot about the war. I know you've got an affiliation with war poetry and the crime, the thrillers on the side as well with Nigel. But what is it in your day-to-day life? And you're one of those prolific writers, and you see the output you do. What is it about that one subject then that makes you go, I want to write about that, or him, or them?
Yeah, it's quite simple with me, Ross. As you know, I didn't start writing till very late. I was 60 when I wrote my first poem, and I was the same age when I wrote the first book, which obviously you've read. You give it a 1 star, I understand. So you know what I mean.
Okay.
But no, jokes aside, with the poetry, obviously I've got the affinity with mining because all my family were miners. I got the affinity with the war because David John introduced us to the war poets as such, as it was then back in 65. So, but everything then was dormant for the next 50 years, 40, 50 years. So I never did anything. It never ever entered my head that I would write poetry or I would write crime thrillers. Never at all. So I suppose I had a fresh mind. My mind was actually empty. There was nothing in there to distract. So when I saw the first poem on the coal mining site, my mind clicked in. Going back to school, I thought, well, I'd write a poem. And it came quite easy. It was Aberfan, which I read out before. 4 or 5 verses, and then you put it on a site, and you get like 200 thumbs up, people like, and comments, hearts and that type of stuff. So that started me off, and then I looked at disasters then, like Park Slip, which is local, and all I obviously I knew the history of Park Slip, but then all I do then, I might see something on the telly because I watch a lot of the History Channel on the telly, or whatever. And if I see something that I think I'll write a poem about that, I just research it and I just write it. So I suppose my inspiration comes from years ago. And present day, Aleppo and stuff like that, you know what I mean? The Holocaust. I watched a program a while ago on the Holocaust, and I wrote 3 or 4 poems about it, and then you research it, and individuals who were involved in the Holocaust, like the shepherd, the fellow who looked after the kids, this type of thing. And it just progresses from there then. I think then your mind starts going into sort of taking over, and you start getting these sort of a bank, basically, and it just comes out. It's the same as the thrillers. Because of what I did, obviously I got all this experience of dealing with all this major crime. That was there anyway, but I never ever thought I'd write a book. But then once I started writing, and I didn't even know what I was doing with Nigel, because Nigel was putting it together, so you just write, which I did. So I wrote it like 50,000 words, and then he put it all together. And then when you read it back yourself, basically it's what you've been doing for 30 odd years. When you're dealing with whatever, and you're doing a file of evidence for the DPP or whatever it is, it's a story. And the way I write the crime is it's a warts and all crime. It is the way people talk, the way they talk to villains, the way they talk to sort of complainants, injured people, injured persons. So that's the way I do that. But that's always been there, sort of been under the surface. I know it's all come out, obviously. So that's probably where I get my sort of inspiration from. Like I got the telly on you now, and I could be looking at something as well when we talk, and then something there, and I put on record, and I'll watch it later, and I'll have a poem out of it. The other inspiration I suppose I get is Carl Ryan, as you know, a friend of mine who's a photographer, fabulous photographer. He's a fashion photographer. He's an extreme sports photographer. He keeps sending me pictures that he's taken up on mostly on the beacons. And you say, have a look at that, Arthur. Write me a poem about that. And I just look at the picture. I'll read a couple after, and I close my eyes and I visualize it like you do with the Highlands. You visualize it, you get, and then I get the first line, and it's the way to go. That type of thing. So visually, I get the ideas, and obviously experience-wise as well. I don't know about you. Are you on a similar vein, or?
Yeah, it's similar. I think not so much on the visual stuff. I don't think. For me, a lot of it comes from an attempt to understand sort of sentiment and meaning. And I think even with landscape poetry that I might write where I describe a place, there's more to it than actually just the description of the place. I'm actually trying to make a sort of a philosophic point at times as well, because when a poet or a writer sees an image or sees a landscape or a place, what they do is, much like the reader of the poem, they actually translate what they see into themselves. Because when you write, for example, when you write based on the pictures made by your friend, you're writing what you see. You're actually turning that image. You've taken that image internally and you're almost translating it in a sense. And what you put out is your vision of what it is. And whatever we write, there's always an intentional bias or meaning that comes from the writer anyway. So you're never going to get a true and honest depiction of what a place is, because it's always going to be shrouded by what the writer thinks. The Highlands is a, obviously you've read my book Highlands. I've spent a lot of time up there writing about it, and there's a lot of description of the places there. But a lot of that poetry is about somebody trying to find themselves in a landscape. If I look for a lake, I'm looking for my reflection in that lake because I want to see myself in that. And how we see things and how we translate and interpret things. You and I would be on a beach and a massive wave is coming towards that beach, right? And we may go, whoa, let's get out of the water. That's scary. That's how we view that image. A surfer sees that image and they can't wait to get out there on that board. It's the most attractive thing to them. So I think there's a subconscious translation of imagery between writer and page. But then that happens to the reader as well. Because, unless it means something to the reader, then it hasn't really done its job. So you have to hit that note. You have to have that hook that reader takes in. And no two readers will ever interpret something the same way. It's like that law of life, right? Everybody has facts. There are facts in the world. That is it, right? You don't own them. They are facts, right? You cannot have your own facts. You can have your own thoughts. You can have your own feelings, but you can't have your own facts. So the fact is the transition. The fact is the connector between the two, and then it's your thoughts and feelings that translate that and bend it to yourself. There's a number of poems I've written, especially over the last few books, when I wrote Fly Tipping and Driftwood and Beacons now, where people have said to me, "Oh, do you know what? I love that poem. It meant this to me. I understood what you were saying. I saw this." And you go, okay, and you smile and you nod. We go, that's not what I meant at all.
No.
I love it because that's what you think it is. And if that poem is special to you then because you see that, that's great. But it's not actually what I meant.
I think that like Culloden is a typical example of two poets writing about the same subject.
Yes.
I've never been up there. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. But when I write, especially the war poems, I try to envisage being the person that I'm right, that's there, if you understand me. And I try to write as they see it, and that how they behave. Like a fellow's going to be shot for desertion, I put myself in his position, and I try to make it a little bit sort of about him, rather than about the actual the death. It's like Culloden. You mean if you read Culloden now, and I read my Culloden, they're two different poems, because that's the way we write. Yeah. But you could jigsaw them together. If you read and then you got the one there where you see it, where you were there, you actually see it, and then you got the one with the fact, with which then jigsaws in to the two. So poetry can come together. But when people actually say, I enjoy that poem, I could understand it, and this is what I make of it, I think you're halfway there. Because I find a lot of poetry, and I've spoken to people, numerous people, when I've done the talks about poetry, where they will say, I don't read poetry. I say, why don't you read poetry? I don't understand it. And I say, what sort of poetry are you reading? And they say this, that, and the other. And I say, well, my poetry is not like that. My poetry is authentic. It's a story where ordinary people read it and can understand it. And invariably, it's about something that they know about. Like Marmet's Wood. You know, I put Marmet's Wood on yesterday on a couple of sites, and you get like 250 people liking it or whatever, making comments on it. I've been there. It's eerie, like Culloden. You know, so when they read the poem, I think if they can envisage these soldiers going through the wood and being machine gunned and this type of thing, like Culloden, isn't it? You know what I mean? When the butcher goes around after he tells everyone, kill them all. They got blokes with legs off and arms on. He says, kill them all. It's like a genocide. It's the same as the Holocaust. You know what I mean? Some people say it never happened. Well, they must be off their rockers, whoever says that. But yeah. I think that two styles of poetry can come together. Now, my poetry couldn't come with a romantic side, because I don't write romantic poetry. Now, I wouldn't say it was as romantic, but I'm sure you could blend romanticism into a poetry.
Yeah.
But whether I could, I never tried it. I never tried to write a romantic poem. Perhaps I will one day. I'm just saying, just a call. You might have read it. The Revere, the horse, the bay horse, the war horse. Like, I had no idea who this fella was, this Ricky. He gets in touch with me, says, my horse has gone missing. I said, yes, well. He said, will you write a poem about her? And he explains to me what she is. She's a war horse. He tells me the history, why he had the horse. He got PTSD, this type of thing. And he said, because we've circulated all around Britain for it to be found. So I did the poem for him, and I sent it, and you know, makes him cry. Like, he comes back, he says, you made me cry. I said, well, that's for you. And then, like, in the evening, and he gets into it, he said, we found her. They only found her a mile away. So I've done an eulogy for her now, for the horse, because her ashes is going to go to France on a battlefield. So I've done an eulogy for the horse. And you mean, I tried to write it as if I'm the bloke who owns the horse.
Yeah, there's so many. This is what I think is amazing about poetry. And it's kind of a bit, I kind of liken it to cooking these days, to be honest. You know, and modern chefs are so preoccupied with the way the food looks on the plate. And the ingredients in the food, they're the facts, right? They are the bones of it. But actually, until I bite into it and I taste it, it doesn't mean anything to me. And poetry to me it's the textures and the flavors and the smells and the aromas that all come off what is there on a plate, which is a factual thing on a plate. And it's all those elements that come from actually enjoying that, from eating that and tasting it, you know, that I think that's when it sort of kind of it works for me. Now, I'm not authentic. in my writing. I can't write the way you write. I've tried to write in the style that you write in. I can't do it.
I find that incredible. You know what I mean?
I can't do it. It's to me, because like I said, maybe because I'm not authentic then, because maybe it is more thought driven, and it's more about the feelings and the the shadows that these things cast. Like Culloden, you're right, is a great example of two people that attack things completely differently. Like your poem Culloden, incredibly factual, incredibly authentic, and what I loved about it is it's not only a great poem and it's a great piece of art constructed, but somebody could pick that up that's never heard about Culloden, read that and go, whoa, that is what happened there. That is what happened there. That is, and have an emotional reaction to it.
Yeah.
Where my Culloden poem is about knowing what has happened there, but that feeling of wandering on that moor, and like the scratchy grass and the dark and the signs peeling and things like that. Where so it's a emotional reaction to that event.
Yeah.
And you're right, you could put them side by side and they would complement each other.
Of course they would.
Completely. But I've always the nuts and bolts, the factual stuff, the actual telling of stories, and I think that's why your poetry is the way it is, because you're a natural storyteller. I mean, I've just read they're up there on the shelf. I've just read two, Terry Maguire novels, and you're right, they're very grounded. The characters feel very real, and you can tell they're written by someone who's been there and done it. But there's also that taste that I get from you is you are a natural storyteller. And what's great is you're writing prose and poetry, so you're not restricting yourself to any kind of medium in any way, shape, or form. And that's a great thing. But like I said, I've always let the subconscious drive me in what I do. I don't. If I sit here and I try to write, I will not write.
Never.
I can't. No, I cannot. I've tried it when I was writing before. When I was writing Fly Tipping, which is probably 2 years ago now. I said, right, you can sit there for 2 hours every night, and you're gonna write. And I sat here for 2 hours, and I didn't. I found loads of other things to do. I started reading up and down through Facebook. I don't really care about Facebook or Twitter or anything like that anymore. But I sat there and everything except write the poem. Then I would go to bed, I'd be frustrated. And 3 o'clock in the morning, a light bulb would go off. I would sit up in bed, I'd go write, and I would lean on the table and I would write 5-6 lines. And then I go back to sleep. And then that would be the poem that came out the following day.
And I'm probably the complete opposite. Like, as you know, I'm doing the 2 books now with Nigel, the number 10 and number 11. We're halfway through number 10, so we're on a stop at the minute because Nigel's been very, very busy. But I've started the 11th on my own, and I've done 16 chapters, which is like 20,000 words. I know what the next 10 chapters I'm going to write, so I could finish here now with you, and I go straight into it, and just read, and then stop them for tea later on, and then get back on it later on. And then I go to bed. I won't be thinking about my book. I won't be thinking, oh, what have I got to do next in my book? That type of thing. And it's the same with the poetry. I see something, I write it, and that's it. I won't go to bed thinking, what am I going to write tomorrow? Because I know I'm going to write anyway. So be it the book or be it poetry, I am writing a poem now for a couple of weeks, but I'll see something one day and I'll write about it. Simple as that. And then I go back on the books. It's a constant with me, and I think the reason that is because from the age of 16 to 65, I never wrote anything. Except when I was in work doing the files of evidence, which are basically taking statements of people, victims, criminals, and putting it all together in a package, which is what a book is. Basically, it's a story from start to finish.
Yeah.
Beginning, middle, and an end. And all you do, you create the characters in between. And like with the poetry, I tried to put myself, like Cathedral, my coal mining poem, I put myself in the mind of a young collier underground who gets killed in a fireball. How he was, where he was sitting, what happened, creaking, this, that, and the other. And then when people read it, were miners, they put comments. I can understand that. It must be terrible to be in that. And I recently I'm on 2 other coal mining sites now, and I think they're South African, I think they are. You know what I mean? And I put a few poems on there, and you know what I mean? Mining around the world is the same. You've got to go underground. Doesn't matter whether it's for coal, diamonds, lead, copper, whatever. It's the same. You got the gases, you got the creaking, the posts, you know, this type of stuff, the horses. So it goes round the globe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You mean like a disaster? You put like Aberfan is global. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't know about Aberfan. Where, you know, this type of thing. So I think with me, it's because I had that big void in between. That poetry and writing books never meant anything to me.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it just comes and it's there now. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can't stop.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
Well,
I
hope you don't.
Well, no, I can't. You know, I mean, how do you get people, as you might, I don't know if you've had it, get people ringing me up and going, can you write me a poem?
I was asked once by a friend of mine if I would write a poem for him for his wedding anniversary.
I know.
A poem from him to his wife.
That's right.
I said, well, no, I can't. And he said, well, why not? You write poetry. I said, yeah, but I don't know your wife, so how can I write a poem for her? And he was like, oh, you'll be all right. Don't worry about it. And in the end, I said, do you know what? I said, if you write me a couple of pages, right, with what you want to say, I said, I will cut and shape that into a poem for you.
Sure.
And I'll tidy it up here and there. I said, but I'm not writing a poem for your wife because A, my fiance will probably kill me anyway.
That's right. That's right.
And B, it wouldn't be real.
No.
In the end, he didn't send me any notes, so I didn't do it. I thought, well, if you can't be bothered to write a couple of pages about her, then she's not going to believe you wrote her a poem.
Well, a friend of mine rang me. His brother passed away, and that's what he said. Can you write the eulogy for my brother? I said, what do you mean write eulogy? Can you write me a poem that I can read out in the funeral? I said, yeah, but I got to have some information about him. Just tell me about him. He was a hell of a boy. He was this, he was that. He was like the black sheep of the family. I said, how do you want it? Do you want it sort of melancholy, or do you want it a mixture? He said, well, can you make it a mixture? So I did him 5 verses, and I sent it to him, and he ran back. He said, that's my brother.
Oh.
That's my brother, he said. And he read it out. And I think people thought he wrote it, because I don't care.
That must be that empathy curse that you have and I don't.
So yeah, you know, so I did one for a friend of mine's daughter's wedding. I've seen Bethan grow up from a young girl, and I know all her background. You know, I know her background. And David, when he said, "Oh, can you?" So I said, "I'll write it for you." So, and he read it out, and Bethan thought he'd written it. And he rang me up. He said, Bethan thought I'd written, and you know, tears, usual thing, like in a wedding. You know, it's like father with his daughter. Like, but so that's nice. But I throw them away. I do. You know, I write when I say like Ricky. You know, I've just done the eulogy for his horse Riviera, and that's his. That is. I say that's yours. That is. Do it like with frame it, whatever. That's your poem now. Then, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just can't stop writing.
Well, should we?
Right, where we going next now?
As well, should we read a couple of poems? We haven't done a poem yet.
Well, I read. I read them off the phone because I'm on Word. So all my poems are on the words. Yeah. Let's go. I'll pick one out. You know. This is a typical poem. It's entitled "The Lake," and Carl sent it to me. The picture. It's a picture of you could very well know it. Llyn Fan Fach.
Yes, I know it.
The Brecon Beacons is a massive blue lake. Lake of the Small Hill. So Carl sends me, he says, have a crack at that. So, and this is how I put it. This is a poem I wrote to go with the photograph that Carl Ryan took from the top of Banai Brycheiniog in the Black Mountains, part of the Brecon Beacons, obviously.
That's right.
And he looks directly down on Llyn Fan Fach Lake. So I get this picture now, and the first thing I got to find out is, well, what is this lake? And it's got a bit of history behind it because it's quite a mythical lake, apparently. So this is the poem I put to the picture, to the photograph, and it's entitled "Lake of the Small Hill, Llyn Fan Fach." A glacial bequest, Mother Nature's creation, viewed from above, a stunning revelation. A crystal clear lake, adorning from high, a sight to behold when a clear summer sky. Steeped in folklore, the lady of the lake, a true lover's tale that would sadly forsake. Colours so vibrant in a valley so vast, outcrops, escarpments, shadows they cast. With water so pure, a natural lifeline, beckoning wildlife to the shoreline. At the end of the day, all becomes calm. Flora produced such a beautiful balm. As a new day begins, all silence withdrawn, skylarks in song, to night into dawn. Way upon high, red kites, buzzards they saw, gliding on thermals from the valley below. A black mountain jewel, without a doubt, a sustainer of life we can't do without. Forever she'll leave an everlasting legacy, an azure blue expanse, nature's final destiny. So I wrote that to go with the photograph. And how I envisaged the valley was there is like the buzzards, the red kite, the azure blue water, the thermals, you know, this type of thing. That's how I sort of saw that myself. So I sent it to Carl, and obviously he loves it, and he, like, you know, he says, and it goes with the picture.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's been there, I've never been there myself, could probably read the poem and look at the picture and think, yeah, they go together, they dovetail together, and that's what I like about it. I mean, like I told you before, he sent me one of a tree stump with mushrooms and moss on it, and he said, do me a poem about that. So you got to think a little bit then and think, well, what is it? What was it? What is it now? And then you just jigsaw them together. So that was that one.
That's a lovely.
It's I just put that one on a site, actually, on a Welsh site. So you mean I probably have one or two likes.
That's a lovely piece, really.
Yeah, you mean, so it's like, it is authentic, and I think anybody who, if I said to somebody, do you like poetry? You say, no, I don't like it. I say, why would you do that? And I think the majority will say, we enjoy that, which is all you want about poetry, isn't it?
Yeah.
As long as people enjoy it, not to be put off by it. I think of some poetry, like, puts people off straight away. Like, you know what I mean? Like Caroline has started reading yours. I'm reading yours, and Caroline likes it. because it's there. It's there in the moment, and but you've got to read the prologue first, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because Caroline went straight to the poems. And then she had to go back to the prologue, the days, But and once she did that, the poems then dovetail into the prologue, which explains things. So, have you got one, Ebba?
Yeah, I'll do a Brecon Beacons one.
Good.
What have I got? Yeah. Which was a valley up there that had a little village in it, and then they flooded the valley to make a reservoir.
Yeah.
And this is I wrote this as almost as a memorial for the town. And if you go up there certain times a year, when the sun has been out and the water levels drop, you can see the top of the church sticking out through the top of the reservoir.
Yeah.
It's quite a haunting thing. So when I first started writing, actually, one of my first books, I started writing about this, and I thought, well, this is it's a bit of an epitaph, really, for a town that was drowned in the name of having more water to give to the people of Britain. But this is Taff Fechan. Your dead were excavated before the flood came, ripped from your earth, dislocated from your home, poured by man's hand to fill the hollow in the land, turning your plain to a basin, a now drowned dell impounded and doused. Swallowed farm, home, church and store, inn and station's din gagged, a town's sound stilled, interred. And now, empty contours still rest beneath Adam's ale, an Atlantis town nested in Ghost's Valley. From the hillside, the beauty of your teal glass dome is laid out for the artist's brush and the poet's pain, while your cottages, sediment clasped and shaped to alluvium, lie stagnant, fixed, damned and damned. I wonder, do they return, the once lost souls in salutation, head into the drenched church chime, whose call chokes beneath the drink's lid? When baked in summer bright, the blue-grey hood recedes and ebbs, the village's caps and cusps crown again, punctuating ideal resting blue, to let the old church bell sing once more and call home her stolen dead.
So, yeah, it's very moving, isn't it? Because once people understand what's happened there, this village has just been, it's happened to a few villages, isn't it, in Wales? I think there's one in North Wales it's happened to as well. And when you dive down there, you've got the ruins underneath there. And I think when you listen to you sort of reciting it, you can envisage it. And I think that's another thing that poetry does. As long as people can envisage it and understand what it's about, I think you're halfway there, to be honest with you. Now, my poem about Taff Fechan would probably be very much like Culloden. But there again, if I wrote that and put them together, they'd be this, I don't think there's much difference between sort of authenticity and the way you write, to be honest with you. If you're writing about the same thing. It's like if we ever did a talk and we were reciting poems, you recited your Culloden, I recite my Culloden, I think people would be a little bit amazed. They'd be thinking, good God, like.
Yeah, they are. They're as different as the strings on a guitar, right?
Well, of course they are.
But together, together they form music and a chord. But the approach, while the approach is fundamentally different, the outcome is, I think, like the way you write,
a couple of poems that you've read or I've read of yours, and I want to react to them. Whereas I'm probably writing more reactionary poetry, because that is an emotional reaction to what you've seen, not what happened there, but that is what I see, and I know that that town is drowned. So I respond to that sort of emotionally from that perspective. But what I hope to do is in the creation of a piece of poetry like that, I would hope that somebody would go, I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
It's like when I write about Culloden, when I wrote Culloden, you know, if you didn't know about Culloden, I would then want you to go away and Google a picture of it or read about it. You know, I hope to be able to create that interest if you don't know about it. I mean,
it's like archaeology, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's having to dig.
Mm.
Well, with my poetry, I do the digging.
Yeah.
So before Culloden, I knew about Battle of Culloden, but I didn't know about the Butcher, the Duke of Cumberland. I didn't know he was called the Butcher. So when I read that sort of thing about it, well, he's got to go in, hasn't he?
Oh yeah.
Bonnie Prince Charlie got to go in. And what he did, like he led all the clans, and they all got slaughtered, and then Charlie does a bunk to France. And leaves them all to it, and then you've got the Butcher killing everybody, and just raping and pillaging. It's frightening. And when people actually read the history, and this is the problem today, I don't think a lot of kids actually read history to that extent. Our heritage, our Welsh heritage, things that have happened in Wales.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I put a poem on about what was the battle, and a bloke come back and said, "Can you write one where we've won?" He said, "Can you write a battle where Wales beat the English, except in rugby?" I said, "Yeah, I'll write you one." Actually, I knew there was one down Carmarthen way where there was a battle many years ago, and I just read it, and it's there, like it's on a hill, and they beat the English there, defeated them, drove them into the river. It's the time of the feudal lords in Norman time, So it took me 20 minutes to write it, and I whacked it on the site, and he goes, "Well, that's it," he said, "we beat the English." You know what I mean? But it's quite a bloodthirsty type thing,
Yeah.
So that's the way it was then. As you know, the Normans brought a load to this country, but also they weren't very nice people.
No, there's definitely a checkered history there.
Oh, yeah, so that type of thing, and I enjoy it. If somebody does, when you go on a site, somebody people do make, "Oh, can you write the battle of like the Battle of Cambrai?" I'm playing golf, and the bloke come, he said, "Well, can you write about the Battle of Cambrai, Arthur?" I said, "What's that about?" I said, "What's that, Dal?" It was about the tanks in the First World War, the first time they were used. He said, "I'm going to do a function," so he said, and I said, "I'll do it when I go home now." So I researched it, and I sent it to him. And it's, as you know, it's read out now every year in Cambrai on the Remembrance Day. My poem, like if you said to me, like 5 years ago, you'd have a poem being read out on a Remembrance Day in France, I said, "What are you talking about?" But that's how things develop, isn't it? It's like anything else. But no, you know what I mean? Like the one you just read, I've camped up in Taffechan at the beacons, Nice to life. I've camped loads of times up there, when I was a cadet and stuff. And it's like Penavan, isn't it? People say, we're going up the top. I went up Penavan 6 times in a day, I think it was one day, when I was a cadet, like up and down, up and down, up and down. So it was. And then you'd camp there as well, so, you know what I mean? You were like going up to Penavan, coming back, and going to sleep, like. But now it's the in thing up in Brecon, isn't it? Up the Penavan, like.
Oh yeah, and the 3 Peaks Challenge, just a bit.
You're all doing it, like, you know what I mean? But there we are. But it's a beautiful countryside up there, but very dangerous, mind you. But yeah, plenty of inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I've written about Brecon a number of times.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll show you. I've just had the proof copy through now, but I mean, there's no coincidence that my new book is called Beacons.
Beacons, yeah. Is little Tommy Jones in there?
No.
Huh?
No.
Well, people go to the Beacons. I say, "Ever been to Tommy Jones's obelisk?" And they say, "Who's he?" I say, "He's a little boy who got lost on the Beacons, and his obelisk is there. It's up on the Beacons." And him and his father were walking to a relative's farm, and his father went on, and the boy got lost, and they found his body days and days later. So there is a story up there. On the beacons.
Yeah, I mean, if I go in through everything I've written to date, I wouldn't be surprised if there's around 10, 15 poems about different areas of the beacons, and because I've always found it I like it in winter. I like it in winter a lot.
Oh, I've been cut. Yeah.
And, especially the plains. And one of the first pieces I wrote about it, when Wordcatcher started publishing my poetry, was just called The Beacons. And I was just up there in, I think it was in November or early December. Just, after being past the Penderyn distillery there, and I just kind of dropped up where the Astravelta turnoff is, and just past that onto the flats there. And there were just these pools of mist.
Sure.
Clouds were low, and because it was winter or late autumn, all the colour was kind of bleached out of it as well, because all the grass had really gone yellow, and I sat there and I went, right, and I wrote the poem there. I sat there in the car and I wrote it. And
it's inspiration, isn't it?
Well, we're very lucky. We're very blessed in Wales. And we're blessed in, I mean, like, I live in the middle of not in the middle, but I'm in the capital city, the biggest city in Wales. But 20 minutes up the road, I'm in the countryside.
Exactly.
There's not many countries where you can do that.
Same as me, I can drive half hour, be down to Gower.
Yeah.
Or 40 minutes, or I can drive up the beacon.
The Gower, the whole peninsula down there.
Yeah. Puthcall is 20 minutes. Sutherdown's, we went for a run from the coast of Sutherdown and Ogma-by-Sea the other day, all the way down. Ogma-by-Sea, Sutherdown, Wick, come back all the way back round Landau way, came back just for a run to get out, like. But yeah, it's there's loads to inspire us.
Southern Down's always been one for me.
Huh?
Southern Down's always got to me.
Oh, lovely down there.
What it is, there's something about it, and
yeah. You go down there when you go down there in the evening when there's nobody there, especially in winter, right? And just park and just look at the sky, the sea, the cliffs, and the sea coming in. Incredible. If you don't get inspired, nobody will. But
yeah, no, it's happened a couple of times. I mean, I have, I've written Dunraven Bay is a piece I've written in one of the books. No, Southern Down was one, and the other one was the Dunraven Kite. And I wrote that. If I had it at hand, I'd do it now, but I don't. And it was one. I was down there. I was just sat on the grass there one day, and there was a guy, a father and son on the beach, and they're running along with a kite. And I was in a place where I was becoming quite frustrated with things, and I felt there were things holding me in life that I couldn't get around, and I couldn't get away from it. Like not being tied down, but that sort of thing. And I wrote this poem called The Dunraven Kite. And the poem is about watching the father and son running on the beach and wanting the string to break on the kite, so the kite could be set free. And that's how I,
envisage it. That's how you envisage it.
That's how I envisage it. And that's that's the same as looking at that picture. Well, what do you see? Do you see the wonderfulness of the kid flying the kite with his dad in that amazing moment? But I guess because we're writers and sometimes we look at things a bit differently, I saw a kite being constrained by a bit of string and wanting to be free, almost like a dog on a lead. So I think that's the wonderful thing about what we do really is we can take those things and sort of bend them to what we want to say.
Your thoughts, what your thoughts are at the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what
I mean? Do you want to give us another one?
I'll do another one of Carl's, right? Another one he sent me. This was of a waterfall. A
waterfall? All right, I will find it, see if I've got a waterfall while you're doing that.
There we are then. He sent me, and it's a stunning, I did this one in 2017, so it's 3-year-old. But I just get this picture of a waterfall and rocks and green shrubbery. And he says, right, what about that? And in fact, a friend of mine has put it to music.
Right.
like we were discussing last week, or a fortnight ago, about how poetry is close to music. And so I sent Steve the words, and it's his interpretation then of the words, isn't it?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Simple as that. So anyway, this is the waterfall, and it's the Clydach Falls. It is.
Okay.
I called it waterfall. Here it is. The Clydach meanders, transparent and cool. Evergreen woodland, deep shining pools. Riverbanks cloistered, surrounded by trees. Soft, gentle breezes rustling the leaves. Nature at peace, a sweet country balm. Downstream the falls, disturbing the calm. Cascading timeless, plunge pools created. Moss-covered white stone, dark grey and faded. The waterfall rose, her torrent unleashed. A translucent curtain disrupting the peace. Emerald ripples shimmering with life. Nature's creation, such a beautiful sight. And that's to go with the picture. And there's some rocks, trees, this type of stuff. And that's how I envisaged the poem. To make the poem go with the picture, obviously. Again, I've never been to the waterfall, but you can write about it. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know why, but it's just, that's the vision I had, and then my mate put it to music, and he called it the waterfall. It's beautiful. It's like when I did Life on the Streets. I went to Cardiff and I saw all these beggars, and I thought, Christ, I said, Christ alive. And I was talking to one who's an ex-soldier, and I came back, I wrote Life on the Streets, a poem, and Steve put it to music. It's about 6 verses, and he put it to music, and when he sings it, like, you know what I mean, it's lovely, but it's his interpretation of the words. It's like anything, like we were talking about Mike Peters and people last week, you know, and Simon and Garfunkel, Albert Hammond, you know what I mean. I was listening to, what's the ginger boy now, what's his name, the singer?
Ed Sheeran.
I was listening to one of his songs earlier on, right? And the lyrics are abysmal. And I think to myself, you know what I mean? If those are the lyrics, it's only the music that carries the lyrics. You know what I mean? The lyrics don't do nothing for me. It's just that the tune carries the words. And I don't think it should be like that. I think when you listen to lyrics, those lyrics should be telling you something. You know, there should be some kind of story behind the lyrics. You know, Albert Hammond and people like that are artists at it. You know what I mean? But today's music, now I listen to some of the lyrics, I think, Christ alive, how is that like in the chart if it is? And I think to myself, I could write better lyrics to the music. If I sat with Steve James in a room, he started plonking, I'd put words to that. You might call it, perhaps you'd call it Midsummer Nights. And I said, well, start playing it then. And then you go, because once you get the first line, you're on a roll then. And it's just time then to structure the first verse, and then you got your chorus. And I listened to some lyrics, and I think I was like, oh God, how are you selling records with that? But it's just the beat and the music and all the electronics that go with it, isn't it? You know what I mean, that actually sell it. But there we are. So that was Carl's Waterfall.
Very nice.
Well, yes. I hope you did him justice. I hope you did the picture justice.
Sure it did. I'm sure it did.
Have you got a waterfall one there?
Not that I can find. I've got Southern Down.
Go on. Well, yeah, go on. I shut my eyes and I'll envisage it.
All right. So this is imaginatively called Southern Down. South Coast's arc, ocean's part-time vault, evicted by a headway shore of blissful saffron sand, buffed in cusp with rocks birthed of land and sea, your blonde palm now tawny beneath the flying sky's broom, their bodies casting indigo contours on sapphire sheets that brush horizon. At dawn I sit on your pebbled Venus mount, near Neptune's amphitheatre, accepting dawn's chorus. When done ravens dry again, she carves me notes upon its golden tack, private mementos for sentiment, to be erased when the distant sea takes the land again, advancing yet retreating, returning to nestle the bay's heart line, among wedding cake cliffs with grassy cowl.
Grassy cowl. It's nice, isn't it? Grassy cowl.
Well, that's what it kind of looks like. It kind of looks like a cowl. Like the only way I wanted to hit that image of what those cliffs look like, and it looked like a cut wedding cake, because there's so many layers in it. And then I thought, well, what is that? And I messed around with that idea for ages. And when I looked at it, and I went, it's a cowl. That grassy mound is a cowl. It's it can be pulled down and revealed. And so when I tried to shape that bay, Dunraven Bay, especially in that image, it was like, well, that's kind of what it looks like. And you're right there, the way the light moves there, the way the clouds move there, the way the sea, the sea goes so far out and then comes back. And I've always loved that imagery of, a message in the sand that the sea can take away, or the sea taking away footsteps in sand. I've always been drawn to the and it's ironic in poetry because I tend to be drawn to the sort of impermanence of expression, little things that can just be washed away and erased so easily, which with a poem you can't because it's there forever, right? It's printed and it's done and it's on a page or it's on the internet and whatever it is. So there's something very attractive about that idea of writing something that is taken away by the ocean, never to be seen again. It existed and it exists in your memory, but to anybody else it doesn't exist that way anymore. And I find that a really sort of like intriguing concept, to be honest.
Never to be seen again. You know what I mean? I've had a few people get in touch with me and said, can you write a poem about the Caesar down in Gravesend, Swansea? I said, I'll send it to you now. And I send it straight away, see? And they go, bloody hell, you wrote that quick? I said, well, no, I wrote that 3 years ago. See, because Carl gave me a picture of Gravesend 3 years ago. So I'd already written the poem. And I get a lot of people that ring me and they go, I said, yeah, I'll send it to you now, because I've already written it. So, you know what I mean, especially with Carl, because some, Gravesend, the three cliffs, that type of thing, he sent me all the pictures of them, I've done the poems. Puthcor, the lighthouse in Puthcor, that type of thing. Swansea Jack, you know what I mean? So a lot of these poems that I write, the places, people are aware of them. And they normally take lots of pictures of them. And so it's nice that way as well, where somebody can say, can you write about this? I say, well, yeah, it's already been done. So I get a lot of inspiration from that type of thing,
What about writer's block? Do you ever hit that writer's block? You said you haven't written a poem now for a couple of weeks, but do you ever have?
No, like I said, I've only been writing like 5 years, right? No, I haven't got writer's block. I've never had writer's block. I hope I don't have writer's block, because I probably drive Caroline crackers. Because at least she knows when I'm writing. I'm not saying anything, so I'm not bothering.
I'll let you know. I'm laughing because I know that's true.
I just get up now and again, make a cup of tea for her. No, so I'm lucky there. Like I say, I haven't written nothing but I've been writing the books. Obviously, I'm trying to get more into the books, like so. But I see something tonight, and I write the poem straight away. I write the poem when I see it, and I've got to finish it. If I start one tonight, I got to finish it, and I will finish it tonight. Simple as that. You know what I mean? I've got the eulogy now for Riva, which I'll just edit a bit now, and then I'll send it off to Ricky, I'll do that later on. But as for writer's block, no. Like I told you earlier on, I write most days, every day practically. If it's not the books, it's a poem. I don't know what I can't envisage what it would be like to have writer's block, and what the mental sort of torture of it would be, where you want to write and you can't. It's like I'm in dartitis, isn't it?
It is. It's I suffer a bit from it. Like I said, I can't do what you do. I can't sit there and make myself write. Can't do it. And if I try and do it, I normally end up writing garbage. Right? That's just the way I am. Great examples. Last year in New York, and Nat and I were walking around New York, and I could feel it. I could feel the poem forming, right? And I was going to write, and I wasn't making notes, but it was just coming and coming and coming. And I could see what I wanted to say. I kind of had a feeling about it, and every time we sat down and I got my phone up to make some notes, I had nothing. And we were back in the hotel room, and I was watching a replay of the Yankees game. And when she was getting ready, we went out for food. And I was sitting there and I was going, "Oh, come on. Come on." And I had all these, I was going, "Come on, write these notes." And you get angry with yourself. Because it's like trying to push the idea through that final bit of wet tissue. You just need to step over that line. And I was she had a terrible meal with me that night. I was in such a bad mood because I could not get out what I wanted to get out. And then we had a few drinks as well. We went back to the hotel room, and been a long day walking. I think we'd done about 10 kilometers that day, and fell asleep. And 3:30 in the morning, I just sat bolt upright in bed, and I on the hand, I went, "I've got it." And
what did you say?
She was like, "What are you on about?" I said, "It's whale song. I can hear whale song." Right? And she went, "What are you talking about, you idiot?" And I went, "The sound." And it was because I was hearing the sound of Manhattan with the cars and their horns and how it was bouncing around the streets, but I couldn't get it to where I wanted to get it. And what I came up with at the end was that it sounded like whale song. You know, that sound you hear underwater?
Why?
And that's what it sounded like to me. And then as soon as I had that, she went back to sleep, and I wrote the whole thing on my phone, start to finish. The whole thing. But she didn't. She was scared to death. She didn't know what was going on. She just shook it away. Got it.
It wasn't the Oregon wheel, was it?
No, nothing as dramatic. That's a great poem as well. You have to do that on one of these one day. That's a great poem.
The Oregon whale.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before till I saw the video. But I can imagine it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How do you think it'll go? Well, we haven't done it before, but it should. We put them on the leeward side, 20 ton of explosives, and yeah, it should work out all right. Yeah, half of Oregon got covered with it.
Oh, it just even the real footage just doesn't look real, does it? It's like they got the work experience kid in for the day. What are we gonna do?
Oh, that piece that landed on the car. Oh. Imagine that landing on him. Yeah. And the smell must have been horrendous.
Amazing. But yeah, next podcast you got to do that. The Oregon whale. You got to do
the Oregon whale. I got the Oregon whale number here.
Yeah, go on, do it.
Is it too late to do him?
No, go on. We'll go another 5 minutes and we'll wrap up.
The Oregon whale. Well, you tell everybody about it. You tell me what it's about. Go on. How you introduced me to the Oregon whale.
So the story is that in 1970, a sperm whale got stuck on a beach in Oregon, and they couldn't move it. They tried several ways to try and move this whale because obviously it was dying and it was going to start rotting and generally stinking up the place. And somebody there, I can't remember who, had the ingenious idea of using lots of explosive and blowing it up to get rid of it. So they packed all the explosives around the whale and they set them off. And the aftermath I won't spoil because it's I don't want to take the end of Arthur's poem away. But But yeah, go on, give us
Well,
the Oregon.
I must thank you for introducing me to the Oregon whale, because I had no idea what it was about. But and so this is the end product for everybody.
But
It's
do you know
got-
what? That's an example of the writing piece again, though, because when that story came back to me, and it was only by accident, I found it was an anniversary of it,
Oh.
and I went, "That's an Arthur Cole poem."
Well, here it is, right? The Oregon whale. Have you ever heard of the Oregon whale? 4-ton of mammal. Oh, sorry. Have you ever heard of the Oregon whale? One massive cock-up, such a comical tale. 4-ton of mammal, 45 feet long, a smell so repugnant, a throwing up throng. Her carcass lay rotting on Florence Beach, her last resting place, much panic unleashed. How to get rid? A mammoth task indeed. A repugnant labour, seagulls circling to feed. To bury or burn, these options not viable. Dynamite an option, a faux pas undeniable. Onlookers, reporters moved a safe distance. One giant explosion, a blubber deliverance. A bombarded beach like never seen before, an overpowering stench, all guts and go. Blown asunder in seconds, spectators ran. It was then quite obvious what an idiotic plan. Even the scavengers refused their last supper. Oregon's whale had covered them in blubber. Just watch the video, such a comical tale. So never use dynamite to get rid of a whale. Yeah, when you told me about it and I went on and watched the video, when you sent me the link, I laughed. I said, I can't. I got to write a poem for Ross about the whale, the Oregon whale. I said it must have been horrendous there, the smell.
It's the faces of the people, isn't it?
Oh.
You know, when all that stuff has landed, it's like something from it would be a perfect comedy movie.
Oh.
You know, it would just be perfection, because I you know, people look sad, they look sad. People look happy, they look happy. Shocked and surprised, I get, but that genuine look of shock, surprise, horror, and disbelief, just at once, like being punched by it. That has that just happened? It's an incredible thing.
But it could only happen in America, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It wouldn't happen here. Like we'd have probably had some diggers down there and pushed it out and towed it out to sea or something like that. We would have.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't understand why they never did that.
But that's not as exciting as blowing stuff up, is it?
Oh, brilliant! Absolutely brilliant. But the Oregon whale, yeah, never forget the Oregon whale.
No.
No, going back to writer's block. Touch wood. I hope I don't have it. And I don't sort of push myself. I got to write every day. It just happens. I just sit here like this. Caroline's does a crochet and a quilting and stuff, and then I put the telly on. I got my laptop on my knee all the time, and something will come into my head, and off I'll go. Like I might write later, and I might see something later, and just whack it down like.
Well, just see what other animals have been blown up.
Huh?
You know, somebody must have blown something up somewhere.
But you're talking about Ogma by Sea and Southerdown, and things at sea are very optical. No, a friend of mine was on the lifeboat in Porthcawl, and they were called out one night to a ship in distress off Southerdown. Terrible night. Oof, waves. And they're on the lifeboat, and it's an optical illusion. You're on top of the cliffs. I said, what do you mean you're on top of the cliff? When the wave takes you up, it's as if you're on top of the cliffs, because you're so far out. It's you know, the cliffs are there, innit? And you're up here. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like the boy I was on a driving course with. He was on the lifeboat up in North Wales, and two brothers, and the father was the Cox, and a wave came and took one of them off. and he's gone. And then 10 seconds later, another wave comes. He's on the wave, and they just pull him back on. It's very, very dangerous to see. I've dealt with a few things with the sea are involved, and people say something like, one woman said to me, "Oh, she'd never go to the sea," and I was down Southern because the tide was right out.
Well, it's one of the best examples of the true power of nature, I think, the sea.
You can't. And I should drum into my kids. Kids, when you're down the seaside, you've got to be in view.
Yeah,
we got to see you. I don't even wandering off. And Caroline was terrible for it. Where are they? I said, they're just by there. I got my eye on them. They're just by there. Because kids being kids, they'll wander off to the water. You know what I mean? It pulls them to the water. But like you said, we've got fabulous countryside and coastlines right along all the way up.
Yeah.
Like you go to. I did a poem for a friend of mine about the slate village. Is it Bethesda? Is it Bethesda? And when the village was built with all the slate from the mine and stuff like that, and then you go up to up in North Wales to where all the mines, the slate is the grey, just been left all over, and especially on a misty day, like you'd have inspiration from it. You would. You've probably been up there, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
And you've seen it, haven't you? It's on a foggy, rainy day, like it's something else, like.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like anything that has a surreal aspect to it. Like Port Miriam and things like that.
I visited Port Miriam,
and I love that because it changes the texture of what you're looking at, and I think things that are odd in that way, they almost challenge you to write about them. And again, and challenge to me is part of inspiration.
Yeah. Well, if I wrote about Port Miriam, I'd obviously write about what was his name? Cuffin Williams, is it?
I think so, yeah.
I'd probably write about him, see, because he developed it, and it was his brainchild to bring all this sort of colours and different types of sort of community to that. It's a beautiful place. We spent a weekend up in Port Miriam. Beautiful it was. I actually stayed in the hotel there looking across the bay. It's like they say about Dylan Thomas's boathouse. I've never been. Have you been there?
Yes.
They say that will inspire you going there. I don't know. Did it inspire you?
Yeah.
It did. I can imagine him and what's his wife's name?
Oh, Caitlin.
Caitlin there. A couple of whiskies and him right in the wheel. It's like going back to him, is it? I mean, what a talent, and just snuffed out, like, unbelievable.
I mean, the boathouse where it's positioned on the Taff Estuary there, it's beautiful, the location. His writing shed is quite a way away from it.
I got you.
And where he sat in that shed looking out over that estuary when he sat to write, how could you fail not to be creative there? It's like, I remember seeing a documentary about Seamus Heaney and his house in Dublin.
Because he's your favourite poet, isn't he?
And, he sat there at his desk and he's looking straight out of a window and he's looking at the sea, and the boats are moving. And I think, when you see things like that, especially with the nature, especially around Britain as well and Ireland, the nature of the sea and the light and how things can look so different. The whole 4 seasons in one day concept anyway. But, if you're an artist of that type, it's like having a fresh palette every couple of hours, and there's different colours that you see, and you can't help but be inspired by that.
Well, I look out at number 8. I do when I'm
all right.
Adrian's across the road. No, when you're out, do you make notes when you're out? No, I'm the same. I nothing comes into my head. I just jump in the car. Like today, we went to Lantricent and stuff like that. But I was sitting in the car waiting for Caroline because I don't get out of the car, and I was thinking about old Lantricent. It's totally different to the one down the bottom. There's a shop there. It's like an ironmonger's. No, I've never been in there. I've always wanted to go in there, but I've never actually been in there. But my brother tells me that you got rooms and rooms of stuff. It's unbelievable in there, he said.
Oh.
And I was thinking in the car, when I go there, I could very well write a poem about it.
Mm.
You know, how times have changed and he's still there. You know, you got the rooms, you got, remember the old washboards, you know?
Yeah.
Those and the tin bath, and that's all still there apparently. You know what I mean? I suppose if he went in there asking for a washer for this, he'd have it there. Those, because we mustn't forget those type of things either. You know what I mean? And I think in poetry we can sort of, because once you've written them, they're there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because as you know, the books go to the library, don't they? Up in Aberystwyth, I think, or somewhere or whatever. So they're there for time immemorial now. Unless they decide to destroy all the poetry books, I don't know. But our times have changed. Our times have changed.
Right, buddy, we are on time.
You're happy with that?
Very, very good. I will put this together and it will appear on social media. Lovely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. And you're looking far better than you was this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Far more sedate. Unpresentable.
Thank you, buddy.
Have you trimmed your beard?
No. It's the camera angle. That's all it is.
Tell them what I kinned you to this morning.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
I'm not going there, he said.
We're not going there. We're going to wrap it up nicely, professionally, and friendly.
Well done, man.
All right, pal.
Give my regards to Natalie.
I will. And
look after yourself. Hopefully now we can pop down there shortly. I think the way I don't think they'd let the schools go back like they have if things weren't sort of on the wane, as they say.
We just have to watch this space and find out.
There we are. All right then, Ross.
Thanks, pal.
No probs.
Adios.
Same to you, my boy. Same to you.